second edition of the Radically Real podcast. I'm moderator Kate Montana, and I'm here with Robin Duda, the co-founder of the Sustainable Love Training and Transformation Center in Santa Fe, and Maya Rose Cordova, somatic healer and musician, singer, vocalist, amazing, and Claire Ku'ule Wilkins, fourth generation Hawaiian native here on Maui. And we're continuing our radically real conversation that we started in our first podcast about what it takes for all of us, all tribes, to come together and to feel safe and to be able to have deep, meaningful connection in safety that enables us to finally unify as one tribe, outside of skin color and background and history and genetics, that to come together in the heart and as the spirit beings that we are, which is the unifying truth. So how do we get there? It's one thing to know as a logical idea or a concept, but this conversation is, how the heck do we come together? Looking at the face of all the difficulties we have. And then, of course, what stimulated this whole conversation to start with was the fires on Maui and the deep-seated dislocation of so many Native people on the island, and the ongoing confusion. What has it been, like a month and a few days right now since the Maui fires, and where we all are, and we still haven't come together. Mm-hmm. So this is part two of unification and what keeps us from coming together and then being able to take action.
Beautiful.
So anybody want to start with this? Grab the ball and run with it.
Well, I think I'm going to start with a small story.
Okay.
That to me really highlights why it's so hard to get people under one roof, to get everyone on one page. There's a lot of things that we have to let go of personally before we can be willing to unify the rainbow hoop and all stand on the same level and hold hands together with everyone. No one's left out of that circle. For us all to really do that, it takes a lot of self-work on ourselves to be able to look what some might see as a perpetrator, to look a person in the eye and to say, I'm with you and I will stand beside you because we are the same. I had an experience just 2 days ago where I am a part of the Native American church, and we had just got done with a church service, and a Russian man came up to my friend who's a Northern Cheyenne, and the Russian looks at her and goes, wow, you sounded like a Cheyenne woman. And
that was from, he heard her sing?
Yeah, he was hearing her sing, and he thought that she really sounded like that. You know, he said, wow, that was really beautiful. Like, you sounded like a proper Cheyenne in there. Mm-hmm. And one of her cousins is also a Cheyenne. And he looks over and says, well, you ever heard of Cheyenne before? Well, he says, no, I haven't. But that's what you sounded like. You sounded like that. And they both looked to me. They didn't know how to handle it. They didn't know how to receive that compliment, nor did they necessarily want to take what was in. It was supposed to be a compliment, but I'm feeling really offended by it. And the man left, and the two of them looked at me saying, do you understand why I'm feeling this hurt in my heart? Can you help to affirm me in that way, Claire? And I said, well, guys,
because what he said hurt.
Even though she's a woman, she's a beautiful singer. She comes from the Northern Cheyenne people and is very proud of her people. Mm-hmm. Why does it hurt when someone says, you sounded like that? There's so many racial wounds that come from that. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to even put all of them to words. And that's, I guess, the story that I wanted to start with today, because this is a group of people who pray together. We are a unified church body. We have a unification, and still we are hurting each other. Still, there's ouchy things that happen that don't leave us feeling very good. I wanted to bring that up because I know how hard it is to think about unifying not only myself, and when I think about holding hands in that big beautiful circle of rainbow humanity, there's a lot of pain that I have to get over first, and I have to have trust in myself, and a deep love of myself that is going to allow that to happen. And as we discuss Maui, as we discuss how to get Native Hawaiians to stand beside an entire, I'm not even going to say just white, I'm just going to say the entire others of the rainbow spectrum. It takes all of us to put those identifying factors, Cheyenne, Russian, Hawaiian, it takes all of us to look at those things that we've been holding on to,
back off,
say, I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
Can I take your hand?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we have to do, guys. And it's hard because it's so confusing sometimes.
Well, the first thing that comes up for me is like, well, what's a Russian dude doing at a Native American church? That's the first thing that comes up for me. What? Well, what does he do? He doesn't belong.
Why is that human praying like that?
Yeah.
How is that human allowed to worship Creator the way I do?
The way I do, the way we do.
Oh, again, there's a lot of us and theming, and it's a lot easier to do us and them than it is to put it all down and to let it just fall away and say, I don't need any of that anymore. I'm just here to be with you. Just here to be with you.
So was she or you or anybody in that conversation able to get a handle on why she felt such pain from that?
I mean, we gotta take it all the way back to generational trauma. This is not their pain necessarily. That's a person that they love very much, giving a compliment to someone that he loves very much. There's a lot of love involved. And still yet, do you have any idea how many generations of Cheyenne people were killed, lynched, persecuted? And now you're telling me that I sound like that, and I'm supposed to take that as a compliment rather than a deep passed down from generational trauma desire to definitely not try to sound like that. I'm not supposed to sound like that, because if I sound like that, then I'm gonna get hurt.
You know that, well, okay. And I don't mean, I'm just going to say one more thing, and then I never thought of one of the reasons that the pride movements are so big, pride in being Black, pride in being gay, pride in being Cheyenne, whatever, is to compensate and heal those generations of wounding. My God, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to take pride in my heritage.
Exactly.
We can't get too lost in it.
We've seen that for women. We've seen that for anyone that has believed they were less than. And I think, and Maya, I think you're going to jump in here, but I think where we're talking about how to be with the perception that I can't be safe in my body in the skin that I'm in. Or I can't be safe in my body as a woman because I'm a woman. Or I can't be safe in my body because I worship this God, not that God. When we have a definition, which culture has given us over and over again, you're being massacred because you're a native, or you're being attacked because you're Black. When we evaluate reality from that perspective, which is almost always being put forth on the media, is you're being hurt and persecuted because of being Jewish, being Catholic, being this, being that, being this. But just look at that story. And is that actually truth? Is that actually truth? But if you believe it's true, And we're creator beings in that knowing and believing of that quantum reality. I'm not safe because I'm woman. I'm not, and that's that story that's ancestrally driven in, or I'm not safe because I'm native or Hawaiian or whatever it is. And then you have the actual physical trauma to boot with it. You have a whole package of defense structures that has no way to know that you can be safe as a being, regardless of all those particular conditions, to know you're emanating the energy that creates safety. You don't realize that you're creating your story over and over again. And Maya and I, and in the healing work we do, often have to go, where is my belief structure creating what I'm experiencing?
Yep.
And if you ask that question, you start moving out of being a victim. You start moving more into, oh, I have power here where I never felt I did before. And yet, if you deny the history and the ancestral trauma and the truth of people after people after people being annihilated for their land, or annihilated because they can see through the veil, annihilated because they can't be controlled because they're connected to magic, or like the Druids and the Irish that knew how to work with energies and spirits, and they had to get annihilated by the Christian orthodoxy because they had too much power in their connection. But just keep looking at these themes without finding that place that you have power. You just experience the truth of your story over and over and over again for all of us. But anyway, you have to be able to honor the experience of your Cheyenne beautiful friend might have felt so differently if he would have asked a question. I was so moved by your song. It made me feel like there was natives with you, behind you, singing through you. It moved me so much. Can you tell me about your songs? I mean, with an open heart, whether he was Russian or whatever, that would open my heart, you know. But this assumption that he's coming from, well, you sound Cheyenne. Do you know what a Cheyenne is? Well, not really. Well, you know, there's these assumptions we make about each other based on the color of our skin, or the image we're portraying, or the songs we're singing. So there was a lot of layers there in that story. Claire, go ahead, Maya.
Thank you for all of that. Yeah, there's so much here that I'm feeling in terms of layers and progression of folks learning about what is my power and why was that hurtful. Well, labeling is hurtful. Being portrayed as separate or different can be hurtful sometimes. And I wanted to comment, Robin, you were sharing deeply into the co-creation process and how do we come out of victimhood. But before that, Kate was sharing about like pride movements and bands of folks coming together, and the BIPOC being one of those. And I'm seeing that as a evolutionary step of, oh, you've been hurt, oh, me too, oh, we're similar, and how can we help each other, how can we support each other? And there's a safety with the like mirror that people find to be able to even open up about the depths of wounding that has occurred this life and then ancestrally. I mean, I think that's something that's natural as part of the evolution of our healing. And I see that as a beautiful step of people coming together to even try to reclaim that pride in who we are in our culture and in our heritage. And instead of, you know, as someone who's grown up here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where being brown or speaking Spanish even was at one point seriously looked down upon, and even my parents' generation received brutal treatments in the schools for speaking Spanish. So that was just my parents. So growing up in this space, I know that for brown folks and black folks and religious and whatever it may be for anyone to stand up and say, this is who I am, and I'm proud of that. And this is me, this lifetime, here I am. This is my family. That's a huge step.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so brave for so many, whether even if you're white, to be able to say, look, here I am. This is me. This is the culture that I've grown up in, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
I think there's some incredible beauty there. And I think there's gems there to honor and to respect and to give thanks for. And I also want to kind of connect the dots around where there can be trauma bonding
Mm-hmm.
in those groups,
Yeah.
and starting that perpetuates the cycle of victimhood
Yeah.
Correct.
and staying bonded to like attracting like through victimhood.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that really needs to be addressed. I mean, both need to be addressed. The beauty of the groups coming together and the, hey, how can we actually continue to heal this without staying in victimhood as our power?
Mm-hmm.
And when is the opportunity, or when is it time to open to the unified field of others who are choosing love?
I love this conversation that you're bringing in, Maya, about bonding through victimhood. There's the comfort, the need, organically, the need to come together with like experienced folks and say, "Wow, I'm not alone. This has happened to me. I'm not struggling with this alone." And
Yeah.
then when it turns into that victim bond, this is our power to be victims together. Then we start getting that twist where you can't evolve out of that belief system that you'll never be safe on this planet in this world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's that old, coffee clutch, let's get together and bitch about our husbands, or, whatever. It's just so easy to drop to the lowest common denominator and be in complaint and, oh, well, this happened to me and that happened to me. And it's like, holy Moses.
Right.
Rather than what is it that unites us and makes me feel strong and beautiful in my being? Wow. I mean, I flashed. I lived in Costa Rica for a couple of years. I didn't speak 5 words of Spanish when I moved down there. And I was bound and determined that I wasn't going to get into the American expat white community there.
Huh.
What did I get involved in? I mean, I had a lot of Tico friends, absolutely. But where I gravitated was white American people who went down there, and I had so much in common, like
Yeah.
language.
For sure.
Holy Moses. And I was just like, after the first year and a half there, I was like, okay, I guess this is just normal. This is natural. And how else could it have been? And there was nothing wrong with that, but that commonality. And I guess it's because as a global culture, we haven't really bought. I mean, we have the idea that we're spirit, and we bow to it, and we say prayers to that we're spirit, but we're still tippy-toeing towards living that
Yes. Yes.
and being able to see past the, oh God, I feel so comfortable, oh God, you got dark hair, I don't feel really comfortable sitting next to you. It's just
Right.
like, really?
Yeah. Yeah. And just like we've spoken before, and we'll just say it again, it really takes putting down these things that are comfortable. Language, eh. Skin color, eh. Hair color, eye color, how you were raised, what idioms do you use? Just as Maya was speaking about her parents getting teased for speaking Spanish, the same was true for me when I was a child growing up. because my family comes from immigrant descendants. So therefore, in order to fit in, we had to leave behind our language and speak a different language. So um, I have a very strong memory of my younger sibling just starting to talk. So then, therefore, I had been talking for a year. So I was really good at it. And I remember being asked the question, the little kid looking up at me like, you understand English. Can you tell it, And then I tried to respond, and it was very difficult for me. And I broke out into what is now recognized as a language. We call it Pidgin English here in Hawaii. And if you know me, you know that I have a really thick Pidgin, but it doesn't come out all of the time because
It comes out when you text.
it comes out when I text. It comes out when I'm feeling really happy in myself. Because I had that beat out of me at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
I had my parents say, we don't talk like that. We speak intelligently and we speak good English in this household. We don't talk like that. And so that's been generationally in my line, not only losing our indigenous language like that, but even how we spoke English. So it's very important for each of us, again, to take all that we have that could be what's the word I'm going to use? Privilege, like something that is like so good right now, privilege. And then our other things that might be seen as the opposite of privilege. I have really good English. That's pretty cool. That allows me to connect with a certain amount of people. I have dark hair. That doesn't allow me to connect with the same amount of people like this. But then I could take those and easily reverse them depending on who I'm speaking to. And all of a sudden, me having dark hair is all of a sudden a good thing. And the fact that I speak really proper English is a bad thing.
Yeah.
So again, anything that you can do that to, I think all of those need to be included in what we're willing to let go in order to unify.
Yeah.
We don't need these things. What we do need is the love in our hearts and the knowledge of what actually makes us the same.
Yeah. And I feel awareness around what have we made those mean. The meanings that each of us have placed on all of these various qualities, and getting real with that in ourselves. What does that mean? What does that mean to me? And being willing to maybe put the projection down.
What have you made that mean really invites us back into the power of our own experience and perception to create our experience. Like the power of what we make something mean is what we end up experiencing. And I want to bring that back to trauma. And we were talking about people that go through horrific trauma, and somehow something inside of them brings them that trauma as their medicine and as their gift for the world, or strengthens them in some kind of way where their spiritual essence rises and they say, no, I will not be that perpetrator that was perpetrated against me. I'm stopping it here. And when someone has that agency inside to say it stops with me, which I had in my family, others have had that I've worked with, satanic cult survivors that I've worked with, you, Maya, many of us that have had horrific early experiences, to be able to say, no, I am not identifying. I am not going to make that mean that I'm less than, that I'm powerless, that I'm helpless to have a different life, that I'm unworthy of love. And to me, this is the key of what keeps us apart, is the stories we tell ourselves and what we make something mean, that we then believe, that we identify with, that then becomes that wall, Claire. Or we then align with, yeah, I have dark hair, now I'm liked. Oh, I'll have dark, or I speak English and now I'm not liked. This is all placing your safety in the context of out there instead of asking, what am I making this mean?
Yes.
And do I have value no matter what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how to get to the place where if somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, wow, you sounded just like a white woman." It's just like, and and not be, like, oh, and not be offended or hurt by it, or,
Right.
a Cheyenne woman. It's just like, what is it? What do we do to get to that place? How do we finally, what do we have to ask ourselves? I mean, in that moment of hurt, is it like the ability to self-reflect is like, ooh, I went instantly to wounding and feeling horrible about myself.
Mm.
Mhm.
I mean, how many people are going to go, oh, well, that must be my, family generational patterns epigenetically passed down from me. It's like, who's going to think that?
Right. And I think
Mhm.
that's just what Robin was saying is I almost see it like a line in the sand. We have to make the decision for ourselves and say, this stops with me. And then we have to walk past that line. And from here on, we're in new territory. And now we're walking around across the line. And
Mhm.
then little sneaky things are going to come in and say, but you have da 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 da, and I'm going to do this to you.
Yeah.
I have to be strong enough in myself to say, I don't play that game anymore. I walked past that line. Thank you very much. I'm good. Or I'm going to push you down like this and I'm going to make you feel da 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 da. And I have to say, whoa, I crossed that line. Thank you. I'm done with that now. But I feel like it's almost like it's never going to stop. We got to make that decision. It can
Over
stop
and
with
over.
us, but we have to make that decision and hold it with every fiber of our being, even though we're going to get tested again and again.
We have to know in our bodies, Maya's getting ready to talk, but we have to know in our systems that it's worth the boundary. The
Yeah.
love that we're going to experience by shifting what we're making something mean, and the connections that we're going to have are worth the boundary and the inner work and the stopping yourself and the going back and going to the man that said something that was hurtful and say, I'm not sure why I'm hurt, but I want to reconcile this. The
Mhm.
way you asked that question didn't honor who I really am. Can you feel safe enough to speak your truth because it's worth it? It's worth the effort. Go ahead,
Mhm.
Maya.
I'm so glad you brought that in because it really ties into what's coming up around what stops with me. What am I choosing to stop? And I think with any kind of abuse, what I've noticed in myself and in many folks into the victim consciousness is low self-worth.
Yeah.
I'm not worth this healing. I'm not worth love. I'm not worthy of kindness and connection. Oh, love means bonding with toxicity. There's so many things that gets imprinted when folks have experienced trauma. And we're talking individual trauma and also cultural collective traumas. And so what I have felt in myself is this pandemic in a way of lack of worthiness of heal or to love that is rooted in victim consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so if someone doesn't even know they're worthy of healing or it's possible for them, how can we really ask that question like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is going to stop with me, or what stops with me? What could I stop and what could I change and what could I co-create?
Yeah.
And I'm really, yeah, like curious about that bridge
Mm.
of how to support folks who are really deep in that low self-worthiness
Mm-hmm.
to be able, everybody has to choose for themselves whether they're done with victim or not,
Yep.
whether they want to stay in victim or perpetrator consciousness or not, and create something different and learn something different and open to the possibility of a different reality. And each soul has to choose that for themselves. And I think, like we were talking about last time, the stewing in victimhood, I think, is caused from not having those wounds really be validated or heard.
Hmm.
It
Right.
loops, it's looping, it's not resolved.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
There's no resolution because whomever harmed, whatever ethnic group harmed the other, there was not really that healing and that conversation of compassion. So folks loop, loop, loop because it hasn't resolved.
Yes.
Hmm.
Wow. Wow. I mean, okay, just the healing work that I've done with y'all. At my age, all right, so here's the attitude. Oh, well, yeah, okay, well, yeah, my stepfather was an alcoholic and horrifically abusive, and I should be over it by now. Yeah,
Mm.
it's like, I've done 40 years of meditation. I should be over. I'm over that. I'm okay. I'm not okay. I mean, I am okay now. I'm getting okay, but it's like there's that, but it's like on an individual basis, we're all in this. Oh, well, I should have been over that. And then we project that on Black people, brown people, yellow people, purple people, and go, well, you should be over it by now. It happened 160 years ago.
Right. Right.
Well, we've never done that core healing.
Yeah,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Shit.
Yeah.
And when you realize that you're still sitting on that vibration that's never been validated, you keep repeating the same drama trauma in all these different ways. It can be a walk down the street and somebody says something to you, takes you right back to when you were 5 being shamed on the schoolyard, and you are flooded with red and your heartbeat starts to go and you're like, what the hell's going on? Because that 4-year old, that 5-year old never got that compassionate validation of not being safe. And
Mhm.
this is to me what's so incredible about these times is that the holographic quantum field is so powerful right now because our frequencies on the planet are getting stronger and stronger and higher that we're manifesting quicker and quicker and quicker, whatever it is,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so those that are really stuck in the spiral of I am, unworthy, or I can't get out of this, that don't have that compassionate response either with a friend or lover or healing team, whatever that support may be, and friends, if they don't get that validated and process it in that compassionate way, it will repeat
Yes.
and it will continue to repeat. And it just is relentless right now
Mhm.
until we say, yes, that was really hard. And
Yeah.
you had a right to be hurt and upset. That is your body saying that disrespect is not loving, and that just absolute beautiful validation of people of color, women that have been raped, men that have been raped, people that have been so deeply hurt that bypassed it, like you're talking about, Kate. And the intellectual culture that I grew up in and the academic Western model of what something should take time to get over, these expectations of who we are supposed to be, and all of that plays a game on our psyche. And then we
Mhm.
beat ourselves up because we're not what we thought we should be
Mm.
or healed up yet, or
And then
Mhm.
I kind of want to connect this to our topic from last time, which was that these wounds happened in community, therefore they take community to heal.
yeah.
And we said it last time, we're going to say it again. Please consider this podcast, all of us individually on it, our beautiful host Kate as well as Robin. Um, these are two people who, and Maya and myself as well, reach out. If
Mhm.
you're needing community to support you during this time, please let
Yes.
us be a metaphor for a greater whole, saying humanity is here to support you now. And even though we all feel so alone sometimes, and it's hard to feel like we have each other, especially if I'm having a really hard day and Kate needs me needing support. What if I mess
Yeah.
up? What if I can't hold, you know, because there's always going to be something. There's always going to be something. But it's really important to do this with each other. And so if you don't have someone that you feel safe with, please consider this community
Mhm.
for support. We want to keep this conversation going, guys. So keep sending I'm going to say keep,
Questions.
even though you guys haven't sent anything yet, but keep sending stuff to our emails, reach out. Let us continue this conversation in a bigger way.
Yeah.
Because man, it's hard to feel like we got this sometimes,
Mhm.
you know, but we know we do. But it
Yeah.
just really helps to know that there's others around you that are here with you. And
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, so interesting. It's like we got it, but the I got it. I haven't got anything really tangible, physical. I mean, I haven't got like an organization or a structure or a rule book or anything, but I've got this sense of community
Mm-hmm.
and some mutual support. And so,
Mhm.
and it's real and it's
Yes.
alive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I got, but I can't like hold on to it,
Yep.
but I can live it and breathe it and expand into
And
it.
what was that crazy metaphor I had earlier about letting stuff go? Those were all things I could hold on to. It seems like the things that I should be holding on to,
You can't hold on
I
to.
can't hold on to them.
It's a good
I
thing.
think we're getting
Well,
we're getting
so
somewhere.
something that came up for when you said go talk to your community is like,
Mhm.
I'm just going to throw this out there. So if I'm wounded and okay, I'm dealing with a rape situation and I'm in a group of women who are rape survivors and we all get together and we can commiserate, we've had the same experience, la 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 la, but isn't it also at a certain point I need to be able to go out and address with men or what I have perceived as perpetrators and move outside the comfort zone or perhaps the blame zone with my
Yeah.
sisters or the pissed off anger zone with my
Mm-hmm.
sisters. And so I think that's one of the things that is occurring to me with more and more organizations. And I mean, I know very little about BIPOC, but it's like if we come together with our mutual trauma stories,
Yeah.
when
Mhm.
do we move out of the trauma story and perhaps the anger and the blame and the that kind of stuff and that's still out there, then they did it to us?
Right.
The healing comes with, okay, I'm here, I need to talk with you about this. And I know as a human being, I don't care what color your skin is, I'm sure you've been abused and wounded too, and you've got that in your genetics too. So we really have a lot more in common, even though I'd like to tear your face off right now, or I'm scared or
Yeah.
whatever, but I think I'm ready to engage and maybe that's
Yeah.
to me where the healing comes from. Question
Yeah.
mark. I'm throwing that card on the table.
Well, it we do that in our community here in Santa Fe quite a bit, but you have to have a committed agreement in a group of how to go about that. Because if there isn't, and we talked about this last time,
Yep.
if there isn't a foundational agreement to be respectful and a way to communicate that allows feelings to flow and then those feelings are validated before another feeling is shared. Like there's systems of communication with deep love frequency that
Mhm.
allows when someone's triggered and doesn't feel safe, allows a space for compassion and connection versus just trying to get through it. And if a community or someone that's holding that space, whether it's a dear friend or a group of people in healing that are saying, okay, my biggest trigger is being with the white man. And boy, have we gone through this in our community. A particular kind of person in our community triggers the perpetration experience for somebody. And it's
Mhm.
happened between the men, it's happened between the men and the women. Yeah.
That's
And
me.
and lots of us and then holding the space as a community for those two to move beyond the projections and the story of what we made something mean, to pull back that energy and claim the healing in their own bodies, that they can be safe anywhere anytime, and if someone really isn't safe, they can get their ass out of there.
Uh-huh.
And this is the confusion I feel about the new, let's be trigger warning, trigger warning. There's so much fear about people getting triggered. And to me, it's because we don't know how to be with our triggers. We
Yes.
don't know how to use them as our medicine. And
Mm.
so, okay, I can't go to that meeting. There's that guy was there and he reminds me of that. And she's like, what? And so here we are not knowing that we have the power to transmute that trigger in our body with somebody else is empowering, Kate. But
Mhm.
you can't go and do that unless, in my opinion, unless there's a clear agreement that you're headed for compassion and everybody's welcome in their feeling states and everything is welcome other than trying to harm each other again.
And
Mhm.
everybody's there for the same reason, for healing,
Right.
no matter what
Right.
it takes.
And I've watched women try to go be with men when the men aren't interested in their feeling body. Well, I should be able to be safe with, or a guy, I should be able to be safe with a woman. I should be able to be safe in this situation. Well, are they willing to hold that? Are they willing to move
Yeah.
their vulnerable feelings with you? Have you got an agreement to do that?
Takes two to
And
tango.
Gotta
Yeah.
it
be
takes, yeah,
mutual.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is really, and in my, you can speak into this too.
Mhm.
Most of my work is now really for the youth because what I'm watching now is you can't sustain love unless you have mutual agreement that you want and value love.
Mm.
And this is what I've been sharing and learning about, and the young people that have come and been in the training process and come and do healing work. They have all these racial wounds, they have rape wounds, they have all of this. But the kind of safety that we created in these conscious relationships has allowed profound physiology to shift that
Mhm.
normally wouldn't, because you're even have your ancestors say don't trust that person, right?
Mhm.
And you can transmute all of that in a safe loving container if you want. So there
Mhm.
is hope.
Yeah, something I want to speak to as, just to bring awareness to this piece again is that these experiences live in the body.
Right.
When we're in a trigger, it's visceral.
Yes.
It is it is in our entire nervous system. It's in our emotions. It's in how we posture ourselves. And this is something that I'm even continuing to notice every day. I'm building more awareness around, wow, I just closed myself off in this room of white folks. I just withdrew and collapsed to protect myself.
Yep.
And that happened unconsciously. And now I'm starting to become even deeper, more and more aware of the postures
Mm-hmm.
of where I've had trauma in my personal journey this life and in my ancestral journey. And it is truly, truly in the body. And I think that's why, personally for me, somatic work has really been profound because it's been inviting me and invites folks to say, hey, where does this live in you?
Right.
When you become more aware of that and develop that vulnerable, deep intimacy with yourself for your own awareness,
Yes.
because we each deserve to have that awareness of ourself and of what's going on inside and what we
Mm,
feel.
Yeah.
mm,
And to explore, if this is your soul journey, to come out of all the outer desensitization, TV, everything, and to go inside and actually feel your humanness and the vulnerability of what's actually going on inside.
Yeah.
mm,
And then I've
mm,
I've started to, starting to feel more and more in my intimate spaces, and then feel more of myself in groups of sisters that I feel safe with, and then practicing feeling more of myself in groups of more multiracial beings who of all, the rainbow race, groups of white folks, and starting to notice, oh, wow, this is what comes up for me.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And at this point in my journey, I'm so grateful, to finally understand, okay, I create my safety now. I'm in choice now. But
You create your safety.
Yeah.
I create my safety now. I'm in choice now. But I did not know that even 3 years ago in my journey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. And that lived in my body and showed itself in every situation that I got to interact with another human being. And I feel the there's two invitations here. You know, one is if you are aware that you're collapsing, you're not in your full power, and you're still being driven by these victim patterns, and you're tired of that and you want to explore that healing, it's possible. It is absolutely possible, and you can do it, and you don't experience that. The depths of that can't really happen alone. Like Claire was saying, it's in relationship. And then the other invitation is, you know, because of, I think, the white-bodied versus BIPOC folk journey, just having more awareness for all of us, just having more awareness around, oh, is there just one BIPOC person in this room right now? Oh, that's a very vulnerable experience. And possibly just having a little more compassion for that person, of they may be in their patterns of self-protection because of this circumstance.
Yeah.
And how can I continue to show love here? How can I continue to co-create a safe space here and not go into competition and not go into power over, talking over, ignoring, avoiding? How can I build relation here with awareness that this is a deeply vulnerable experience for this person, or it could be?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get curious around how to relate from a loving place and not point you out and say you're an outsider, but say, hey, I acknowledge you. This is brave of you to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those are two big pieces that are coming through for invitations.
And Maya, I so acknowledge you have done that in our group and taught so many of us about that level of sensitivity and have been so courageous to share that intimately with all of us. And when we have many different racial groups in our community, however, your particular journey has been so honored, and we're so grateful to you for that.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. I feel honored as well.
Yeah.
I feel loved.
Thank you.
You know, having gone, wow, Maya, wow.
Uh,
Having done a little of the dance, uncovering my Native American blood, and being in a situation in a conference where I had, you know, maybe I'd been about a year and a half into knowing my Potawatomi heritage, and in that I, you know, was an eighth blood and could be I could apply for tribal membership. And I was like, and I was working in Indian country and with the newspaper. And I went to this conference, and there was probably about 60 people there. And what I'm trying to get to is white ignorance blows my mind. And it's certainly not intentional, like that lovely gentleman who came up and said, you sound like a Cheyenne, doesn't even know what a Cheyenne is or whatever. But it's like the level of white ignorance, and I guess it could be confused with entitlement, but I prefer ignorance. It's astonishing, because when I finally got more of a native lens, and I was in this conference, and there was a Hawaiian elder doing a healing chant. Actually, somebody had a meltdown in the middle of the conference. I mean, she was having a psychotic break, and he went into a healing chant and was working with her energetically. It was so amazing. I was just like, and a white spiritual leader stood up and interrupted him and told him basically that was enough. Thank you very much for sharing, and let's move on. And I know, I was just like, ugh. And the Hawaiian contingent got up and walked out, and every other person of color walked out. And I sat there, and I sat there and I went, I'm walking out too. I get it. But it was such a moment of, well, who am I and which side am I on? And I'm not on anybody's side, and I don't want to be on anybody. Fudge, what do I do? And it was just like, but it was so shocking. That white dude had no clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was ignoring essence. Break
Wow.
that word down. Ignoring essence. That is what ignorance is.
He ignored the essence of the energy of the moment. He was oblivious of the healing this gentleman was doing.
I want to play play devil's advocate on that though.
Yeah.
I like to differentiate between I like ignore essence. I like that. I haven't heard that until you said that right now in this moment. So I'm going to go back to I usually differentiate it as ignoring versus innocence. I know sense.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are thinking about that human who spoke that way and said stop over there, to me what I see is somebody who's got a lot of who's being very strongly influenced by energies that are not their own.
Oh boy, here.
And those energies say things are getting scary over here. Oh geez, energy's moving. That's illegal. We get burned at the stake for that. We get killed for that. We don't do that.
Oh ho ho ho. Oh, ho, ho.
No. I'm gonna say no, and I'm gonna protect everyone right now.
Whoa.
And I'm gonna say And so I
Look
acknowledge
at the hair standing up on
Yeah.
So,
wow, Claire, what a tune in.
Would I have been able to leave? I don't know if I would have left. I might have stayed to go up to that person.
Yeah.
Just to talk to him and be like,
dude.
And yet, does it really matter if I know their stories? That's still more holding on to things. The more I just keep letting this stuff go, I just have such a big empathy for everyone on this beautiful rainbow tribe hoop circle, because there's colors that I don't even know exist. I'm 3 of the 4 tribal races, like that gets weird and confusing. Like, and that's only my body. That's just me and my human suit. Oh, add Maya's in there, add Kate's, add Robin's. I'm pretty sure we've got all 4 now. That's magic. And it when those magic moments happen, that I feel like that brings up the biggest thing, even if it is somebody, and it definitely looks entitled. It looks misplaced and it looks confused, but they're going through the exact same thing I'm going through, just a little different.
Yep.
But
their behavior.
Play devil's advocate.
That's not devil's advocate. That's just plain speaking how it is. It's that
he was in fear.
Yeah,
definitely.
He was.
Yeah,
definitely in fear. And it gets scary, especially when real healing starts to occur.
And it was.
And real healing starts to happen, and we get scared because we've never experienced, just like Maya was saying, we've been speaking this last time, we're going to speak it again this time, when our body is trying to imprint to a new way. It's never done that before, ever.
Right.
That's why the trauma is still in our tissue, is because the last time that happened, somebody died. Somebody got killed. Something. Yeah. It's in my tissue because it's trying to keep me safe. Yes. But I have to go through an entirely new moment of me sitting here talking to Kate, looking her in the eye, having these understandings together, and trust that we're gonna be okay.
And that we're working this out together.
Yep. And I can go through this this thing that in the past killed one of my ancestors, and I get to create a new paradigm for myself in this moment. And I
Yeah.
get to re-imprint
Yeah.
like that.
And that conference was 15 years ago. I am a different person now. What would I do now? I would stand up and I would say, hey, let's just talk about what happened here.
Yeah, you would, Kate.
Rather than getting triggered, oh, like now I'm in my Indian box, excuse me, and I got a native box and I got to go out with the crowd over here and identify with one or the other. But whoa, let's step back and look at what happened.
Yeah. And all of a sudden,
Wow, love that.
polarizing everything
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a polarized
person.
Polarized.
Yeah, Maya.
Something that I want to highlight that I think is really big, Claire, is your choice right now, right? To be with Kate as an example, and all of us to be together, you know, and we've been friends before this podcast, and we have gone through our own initiations together of bonding. And in order to bond, in order to even connect and be willing to take this risk that we're all taking, you know, we are confronted with those energies, like Robin was sharing about Claire and your ancestors, and this feeling of like, oh, no, 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 you do not connect with that person because our ancestors are protecting us. Our, you know, our own soul and what our bodies have experienced this lifetime is protecting us. And so it really does require that risk taking, to trust your own knowing that this person is saying they're choosing love. This person is saying that they're not going to go into war and punishment, and they really just want to hear me in love. Okay, I have to trust that and take the risk. And there is that moment of choosing. And most folks, I think, avoid that because, you know, that's terrifying.
Yes.
And there's so many imprints that have, oh, it's okay, okay. There's been so many imprints that have been unsafe.
Right.
Yes.
And
When
so,
we've trusted.
Yeah.
There's been so many moments when we've trusted and
yes.
And we've done these patterns and done these patterns and we've done these patterns. And I think we're we're gonna have to wrap it up because we are hitting the hour point here. But it just feels like this, well, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation if it wasn't time to move on. We know what doesn't work.
yeah.
Everything that we've done so far hasn't worked. And so we're coming to this new place of what works, and that's what this whole conversation is to discover, is what works.
Yes.
So I'd like to ask each one of who would like to say anything, wrap up about this. Please jump in at this moment.
I'm just so grateful. I'm getting dark here in the Santa Fe sunset. But I am just so grateful to have this level of authenticity and to share this in a bigger way, because we are at a time that people want the real inner worlds that bring more love to the world. And you can't bring more love to the world if your own inner love is damaged or shut down or fractured. And we've all committed to deep inner healing, like Maya said, and that choice, to make that choice every day, every moment, that I'm going to choose love and I'm going to trust. I think that piece of wisdom, Maya, is just extraordinary. And I love, Claire, your offering of what are we just going to drop? What are we making something mean, and can we drop it to show up in the frequency of love and see what happens with a being that we normally would do this with? So I love all of this. And I think we're really stepping into the courage now to speak into these deeper issues that politically and in some of the woke conversations don't happen, because we rarely get through holding each other in victim and trying to make sure everybody feels, how am I going to talk to you so you don't get offended? Well,
Right.
where's the responsibility to get safe in our bodies?
Yes.
first. And yeah, I think this is profound. So
Mhm.
if you want to contact Maya or I, and also Claire and Kate, you can reach out through info@sustainablelove is an email. And that's our website is sustainablelove.com. And my particular email is robin@sustainablelove.com. And Maya, you want to share yours or say an ending
Yeah, Maya,
comment?
you got
Yeah,
anything to add?
yeah. Just I think a last comment on it is, um, you know, being in choice to make that decision to trust and to lean in might take time. That might take time. And every person is so different. And I think, an honoring of your own timing. And for me, I will say, it took me a year and a half before leaning in to have a session with one of our male practitioners here in Santa Fe, who's, this big white guy, and his heart is beautiful. But it took me a year and a half to witness, feel, and finally realize, okay, I can lean into this and explore a new way.
Wow.
And so that's been really profound. And I also really want to honor the timing of every individual to feel that truth for themselves, of when they are ready to lean in just even a little more, even just take one tiny little step. So that's what I have to say. And thank you for this conversation.
How can
And
they contact you?
yes, you can find me on Instagram, and we can put that in the details. And also, my website is mayarose.love. And feel free to email me as well.
Thanks, Maya. Claire?
Thank you, Maya.
Um, I'm just going to keep piggybacking off of Maya's speaking about timing, because we can't move forward in any way until we feel safe with ourselves and until that self-love inside of us is a governing center, and that peace becomes where you start moving from. And then you start to catch yourself and you say, whoa, wait a minute, I wasn't moving from myself just there. I think I was reacting to something. Don't judge yourself. This isn't about getting into any finish line. It's just about loving yourself enough to trust your process. I really love these conversations so much. And I don't know how many people they touch, but I do feel that we're changing the world. So if you feel changed by this, if you want to continue what we're doing, we're goaling up. The first one was on the equinox, and we're going to have something on the solstice coming up at end of December. Yep. And so just if you're feeling this momentum with us, please reach out. We would be honored to get to discuss with you in whatever way feels good for you. And we're happy to point you to other resources if we personally cannot be that guide for you at this time. You can reach me personally through the Sustainable Love email, or through Kate on her email address. All of those are available.
Okay. And all that information will be on screen shortly. And in case anybody wondered during this podcast if there was ever any discretion on our part, on Claire's and my part, it might be these guys.
Oh.
Oy vey. So thank you for joining us for this. This has been a boy. I tell you, you got the hair standing up on me. Thank you for joining us. And then who knows what the next conversation will bring, where this will go, but we're far from done.
And Kate, it will always be radically real.
And it will always be radically real. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Bye.